Aguele. First, we take the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari declares Agungun Fishing and Cultural Festival of Nigerian government reading. Right, let's begin with
as a result of security concern.
Today, by the grace of God, I expect support and promote such festivals for our farmers, fishing communities, those in the livestock sector, and
path to a prosperous and sustainable future.
Even as we are battling drops in crude oil prices, Mr. President, we want to assure you that if we continue as we believe you will and you are doing with the commitment to agriculture, even the challenges in the global economy will have minimal impact on Nigeria.
We commend the federal government on the border closure policy and urge government to maintain the status quo.
During the event, Abdullahi Saidu, Maigandu, and Hajia Kulu Ali Namani Kotoko, who emerged Best Male and Female Farmers of the Year 2020, were recognized and rewarded. Also recognized were the best rice and fish farmers as well as cooperative groups. President Muhammadu Buhari has since returned to Abuja. Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And still on the Agungun Fishing Festival, which has kicked off with agricultural show to celebrate Nigeria's capacity in rice production and other staples. President Muhammadu Buhari at the ceremony also unveiled rice pyramids under the government Anchor Borrowers program. Let's hear from Musa Baba Aliyu.
The groundnut pyramids of the 60s and 70s in northern Nigeria was to ease the movement of produce into Europe as industrial raw materials. Very little of the cash crop was processed locally. That might not be the case with rice. The rice pyramids are to serve the local milling industries, and only the excess will be exported.
For that, I think the federal government will come in to uptake or to direct the Minister of Agriculture to buy off the surplus paddy from our farmers at a low repayment.
These three pyramids, looking like that of Egyptian, contains more than 40,000 bags of rice produced by farmers in Kebbi State alone under the Anchor Borrowers program.
And I think it is important for us to appreciate a government that brings about policies that are productive, that are progressive, that are positive, that are proactive, in such a way that the country benefits and ensures security of food.
Joint collaboration between the public and the private sectors. President Muhammadu Buhari stated this when he hosted critical stakeholders in Nigeria's private sector following the successful conclusion of the Going for Growth 2.0 roundtable session.
Recession and supported by growth-enhancing fiscal and monetary policy measures, GDP growth has remained in positive territory for the first 11 quarters.
The president also comments on the coronavirus, which he says is having significant negative impact on the global economy, especially on crude oil price. These challenges, the president notes, only serve to reinforce the country's determination to be self-sufficient and that the vital role of Nigerian private sector cannot be overemphasized.
I assure you that this government would pay close attention to your recommendations as part of your efforts towards developing policies and programs that will enable improved economic growth and creation of jobs.
The Roundtable 2.0 was organized by the Central Bank of Nigeria to look into ways to get around the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the Nigerian economy. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says he is optimistic that Nigeria would get over the effect of the virus.
I hope and pray that in the next few months, as has been said, we will faithfully implement some of those plans, especially the financing plan, which looks very exciting indeed. And I hope that all of this will work well.
Participants from the financial sector agreed to create a special purpose vehicle working with the federal government and key development finance agencies. The well-structured special purpose vehicle will be used to mobilize close to 1.5 trillion naira in funds from banks, pension funds, and other financial institutions to fund road, power, and port infrastructure. The recommendations were also made on ways to improve broadband penetration in the country.
The first Going for Growth Roundtable session was held in 2019, which looked at ways in which the CBN would help shape economic outcomes in the country. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The legislature Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament, Sidi Mohamed Tunisia, has commended President Muhammadu Buhari for extending Nigeria's benevolence with the approval of funds to construct a permanent building for the regional parliamentary body. National Assembly correspondent Vivian Idekbefo reports.
Since the inception of the ECOWAS Parliament in 2010, the regional body has performed its duties from the old parliamentary building besides the International Conference Center in Abuja. That is, however, to change now that President Muhammadu Buhari has granted approval and set aside funds for the construction of a befitting structure for the parliament. Speaker of the Parliament, Sidi Mohamed Tunis, is wasting no time to get the project running.
Some funds are actually being made available already by the federal government. I'm going to have a bureau meeting and I will set up the ad hoc committee, put somebody in charge so to actually engage the federal government, and I can assure you that this 2020 we're going to launch that project.
The 5th ECOWAS Parliament, he says, will engage governments of the region on issues that border on good governance, accountability, security, among others, adding that it is imperative as political actors to lead in mediation efforts. The Parliament will also engage the West African Health Organization for a common and strategic approach towards fighting diseases and infections. From Niamey, the Republic of Niger, Vivian Idekbefo, NTA News.
Back home, the Southeast and North Central Development Commission establishment bills have passed second reading in the Senate. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports that the Senate has conceded 4 of these bills in the last 2 weeks.
It's been a week of second reading of bills in the Senate. More than 20 constitution amendment bills passed second reading within the week. But the Zonal Development Commission establishment bills are not constitutional alteration bills and therefore were thrown up for debate. Senator Stella Odua sponsored that of the Southeast Development Commission establishment bill, while Senator Abba Moro sponsored that of the North Central.
Assist the member states in formulation and implementation of policies to ensure sound and efficient management of resources of our Southeast region.
It will provide employment opportunities, widen the avenue for people to show themselves, and then put the development to the benefit of all Nigerians.
Mr. President, flood has caused a lot of damage to the North Central Zone.
The key flashpoint for flooding is in the North Central Zone because that is where you have the confluence of Benue and Niger.
We have all agreed is each geopolitical zone should have a development commission. But in my view, what Nigeria needs most will be proper planning.
Among the constitution amendment bills that passed second reading include the bills that seek to provide for the establishment of state police and to replace the name Nigerian Police Force with Nigerian Police, and the one that seeks to reduce unlawful exclusion of a political party logo on ballot paper to a pre-election matter.
A bill for an act to alter the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 to provide for the establishment of state police and to ensure effective community policing in Nigeria and for matters connected there to 2020 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Constitution Review. 5
bills passed first reading. These include the Open Defecation Prohibition Bill. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
And to the coronavirus, Hours after the World Health Organization declared the novel coronavirus a pandemic, the Nigerian government has issued a travel advisory advising its citizens from traveling to China, Japan, South Korea, Italy and Iran. Minister of Health Dr. Osage Ehanire made the declaration during an interaction with the diplomatic community at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, restating that the 2 established coronavirus cases in Nigeria are responding to treatment. Let's hear from Usman Aliyu.
While the risks of further spread of the coronavirus increased around the world according to the World Health Organization, Nigeria has intensified efforts to contain the spread here. The government is rehabilitating treatment centers and is training clinicians as part of its rapid response mechanism. Here, the federal government organized this interaction with ambassadors and heads of missions in Nigeria on the situation so far in the country. The idea is just to enhance cooperation among global citizens to suppress the transmission. Nigeria explains to the global community measures put in place, more especially the checks at ports of entries, demand of travel records, medical examination for those with symptoms, as well as isolation centers for confirmed cases.
Nigeria has not yet placed any travel restriction or ban, but has strongly advised against non-essential travel to countries with high level of transmission, which we define now as China, Japan, South Korea, Italy, and Iran. We also routinely require travelers from these countries to be in isolation for 14 days after entering Nigeria. This will be revised always according to the assessed level of risk.
The diplomats were also briefed by the Nigeria Immigration Service on the new visa policy, including the visa on arrival for tourists.
From 3 categories that we previously had to now 79 categories of visa.
An open communication like this is deliberately demonstrating Nigeria's policy strategy, which is striking for more diplomatic relations by making nations who have ties with Nigeria to simply understand reasons for some actions. In Abuja, Usman Aliyu, NTA News.
The latest on COVID-19 on the foreign scene is that Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his wife have kept themselves in isolation over fear of coronavirus. Uche Ugochukwu, is standing by to bring us news on the global scene.
Thanks for staying with us. The European Union's 2 presidents have criticized Donald Trump's decision to impose a travel ban on European citizens, warning that coronavirus pandemic requires cooperation to defeat. In a joint statement, the presidents said the policy had been imposed by the U.S. without consultation. U.S. President Donald Trump had announced travel restrictions on 26 European countries. Meanwhile, the head of the World Health Organization has advised all countries to redouble efforts in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. Tedros Ghebreyesus, in a dialogue with diplomats in Geneva a day after characterizing COVID-19 as a pandemic, also condemned the idea that countries shift from containment to mitigation. He said while maintaining a containment strategy, all countries must strike a balance between protecting health, preventing economic and social disruption, and respecting human rights. Still on the coronavirus outbreak, China's health commissioner said the epidemic has passed its peak as it lodged just 8 new infections in Hubei province, whereas Iran for the first time reported 75 new deaths. That's it from here. Thanks for being a part of it. I am Uche Ugochukwu.
Many thanks, Uche. Let's pause for some messages. We'll be back shortly, so stay tuned.
Naija, your love guest.
I do believe in love at first sight.
I just think it's not possible.
You know, as a man, you're moved by what you see.
My love at first sight is a mental connection.
Personally, don't want someone really shorter than I am.
Guys really don't pick up on things like that sometimes, and I'm guys.
My goal, is to find love.
I just like them average, light skin.
My move button is just showing me too much love.
You might be the most beautiful woman in the world, but if your nails are not straight and clean, I ain't doing with you.
Bad breath, bad odors of any kind.
I'm the mumu naturally, so...
I'll be gone. I'll be a moon for life.
I love attention, maybe food. I want to try again.
If a woman is like my heaven, like she gives me peace, I'm good.
I was at the point of getting married, or my dad didn't approve of the relationship.
Put me my man.
I want someone that's a little bit taller than I am and muscular.
I think you actually have to know a person to a certain degree before you say you're in love with them.
Thanks for staying with us. The Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, has sought the understanding of ASUU on the enrollment of its members into the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, which he stressed is a federal law. At a meeting convened by the House with ASUU, Ministry of Education and Ministry of Labour to address the 2 weeks warning strike by ASUU members, Femi Gbajabiamila allayed fears that the enrollment of ASUU members into IPPIS will affect research and knowledge transfer amongst tertiary institutions. He appealed to ASUU to suspend the strike in view of efforts to resolve the issues at stake. The Minister of State Labour, Festus Keyamo SAN, Minister of State Education, Chukwuemeka Nwajuba, and Chairman of ASUU, Abiodun Ogunyemi, were in attendance. In a related development, a meeting to apprehend the ongoing 2 weeks warning strike by the Academic Staff Union of University, ASUU, has started in Abuja. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, who wanted the government and ASUU to be on the same page in resolving the matter, noted that even though ASUU has not complied with the procedure for initiating strike, issues of IPPIS was addressed in February 2019. ASUU, on its part, maintained that the essence of the strike is on how to revitalize the university system and make it thrive, even though the IPPIS is forced on them to return ASUU to mainstream civil service. The meeting, which has gone into a closed-door session, has in attendance ministers of finance, Minister of State for Education, and other agencies of government are represented. And to the judiciary, the Court of Appeal, Abuja Division, has reserved judgment to a later date on the appeal filed by Senator Ifeanyi Ubah against the judgment of a High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, which ordered his removal from office as senator representing Anambra South Senatorial District at the National Assembly.
At the last adjourned date, the court had ordered the remittance of the original case file from the lower court to Court of Appeal, which the court has received. The three-man panel of justices of the appellate court, led by Justice Steve Adder, on production of the file from the lower court, directed that the file be taken to registry to be documented. When the matter was called, counsel to the appellant informed the court that he has withdrawn 2 of his earlier applications. The respondent's counsel did not oppose the move, and the court subsequently struck them out. Counsel to the first and fourth respondent, Mohammed and Professor Laniyo, urged the court to dismiss the entire application on the ground that the appeal by virtue of Section 285, subsection 10 of the 1999 Constitution as amended is statute barred, and that political matters have lifespan of 60 days at the Court of Appeal, which has elapsed. Counsel to the appellant, Onyechi Ikpeazu SAN, urged the court to dismiss the objection on the basis that the application is incompetent because the originating summons was not signed by any counsel. He also drew the attention of the court to the need to reconcile the conflicting issues by relying on the original case file from the lower court. In the appeal predicted on 4 grounds, Ubah's counsel had insisted that the appellant was denied fair hearing by the trial court and that he was neither served with the originating processes nor hearing motives with respect to the suit that led to his sack from the Senate. He also argued that the court lacked territorial jurisdiction. The parties, however, declined comment. In Abuja, Viera Chumuba, NTA News.
Many thanks, Vera. There is hope in the horizon for a 9-year-old patient with multiple holes in his heart, as the patient will be flown on an all-expense-paid trip to India for a surgery courtesy of Rotary Foundation. Onenge Fineface has that story.
For 7 years, Tayo Shakirat Adeniyi had lived with the trauma of caring for her sick son, Nuruddin, who has 4 holes in his heart.
It was bad. I was crying, and I don't know what to do again, because I was looking at my son lying down in the bed with tears in my eyes.
For 7 years, Shakirat and Nuruddin have been in and out of hospitals, praying each day for help from God.
So for like this case of 9-year-old, ultimately if his heart condition is not repaired and fixed, he could die.
Her prayers were answered. She got the help she needed. It came in an encounter with Rotary Club of Abuja, Garaki neighborhood.
All my family, they are happy. My first son, everybody was happy in the family.
Rotary intervention provided fully paid surgical procedure in India for Nuruddin.
That is even what the scripture says. You need to help people that are in need. So we have been doing that. This is not new.
Passports ready, visas acquired, flight tickets secured. Shakirat will now get treatment for her son with a new prayer, a successful surgery in India. On Nengiye Fine Face, NTA News.
A successful one indeed. Thank you, Nengiye, for that. Let's talk